All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to SpearMC's Emerging Tech webinar on Kibana Data Analytics. We're very excited today to talk to everybody about analytics and how Kibana plays a significant role in really an emerging area for Oracle in the PeopleSoft space. We're going to get going here. Thanks for joining. All right, and I need to, Gary, if you want to just pass the control so I can click through.
Sure. Should have it now.
All right. Great. So just a quick introduction of ourselves. First, our organization, SpearMC. Many of you have known about us for years. We're very significant in the PeopleSoft space. That's really our bread and butter. PeopleSoft, financials, HCM. We are one of the leading firms in the PeopleSoft space. Obviously, in the last few years, been doing a lot of work with hosting on Oracle Cloud infrastructure. And as many of you are moving towards the cloud, we're supporting you during that process. But we're also involved in lots of things on-prem as well, whether that's training, updates and services like testing as a service and that sort of thing. We also do other things non-PeopleSoft, Hyperion, PBCS, OBIE, that sort of thing. But really, PeopleSoft is our bread and butter, and that's really our main area of focus. We've been around for a while, started back in 2004, actually, in San Francisco, and slowly expanded around the country. We are now in multiple offices around the country and have clients all around the world, actually, as we've grown in the PeopleSoft space. And I'm actually out of Seattle, and I will introduce myself here in a second. And Gary today is out of the Pittsburgh office. All right, so just a quick introduction. So Gary Dranikowski is going to be giving our demonstrations and overview of Kibana. He's our Kibana lead here internally at SpearMC, and we're excited to have him and have him share his thoughts today on Kibana and how to set up all the dashboards and all of the cool features that are being brought here to us by Oracle. And that leads us to Matthew Havisto. Matthew will be on with us as well. He's kind of a jack of all trades in the PeopleSoft product technology space, but has been involved in a lot of areas within the UI, whether it's Fluid or now a lot of the advancements within Kibana. You may have seen him at presentations at Open World and different PeopleSoft presentations, or maybe on webinars. And lastly, my name is Cameron McClurg. I'm Managing Director out of Seattle. And I am serving today as the MC of this presentation, but I'm just going to get it kicked off here, and we'll be handing over to the experts to walk us through the Kibana demonstrations. All right, so what are we doing today? We're talking about Kibana. So who's our intended audience? Really, it's anybody that's interested that has done some work in the PeopleSoft spaces. With respect to queries, reporting, analytics, it's really for you. Maybe you've done some things with query, you've done some things, maybe you've dabbled with some pivot grids, and you want to understand how to take it to the next level. You want to understand this whole concept of Kibana. It's really for you. We're not going to get too technical today, but we do assume there's a basic understanding of Elasticsearch, which is going to be pivotal to understanding Kibana. So we will touch on that a bit today. Gary will be touching on that today. But if you want to kind of take it to the next level and really understand at a more deeper level, we are offering training on this, on Kibana, Elasticsearch, and pivot grids, which are all the topics that we're talking about today. That training is going to be coming in June. And if we look at some of the other trainings that we have, you'll see that we do have this Kibana 101, which is going to be a 4-hour, very small, bite-sized chunk class on June 22nd. We'll be taking it to the next level for system administrators, going through Kibana and Elasticsearch. We call it 201. So on July 9th at 9 a.m. We have other classes as well. So whether you're interested in some of the other reporting features like query and Envision. We have some classes out there. We also are, we have a series on getting current and how to get current through decustomization. So it's a big hot topic, and you'll see four sessions there that are sprinkled through on different topics around decustomization. And then lastly, we do have a couple-day class, 3-day class on lease administration, if you're interested in learning more about that and how that is meeting the needs of our public sector and higher ed organizations. And then, as I mentioned, a PUM 101 class for system administrators out in July. And these classes aren't sequential in this graphic. They're more grouped by function, but you can see those. We are purposefully putting these out there at a discounted rate. The classes are going to start at $295. They're small bite-sized chunks, either half-day or full-day classes. We're doing this intentionally to try to get this out to you guys during this crazy time we're all in with this COVID-19. But we are offering in small chunks for you to be able to, just get small little chunks for the training, and you can get that on our website at this email address. We will be sending this deck out at the end of this session, so you get the link and be able to go straight in and take a look at some of the training if you want to take it to the next level. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Gary to walk through our agenda today.
All right. Thank you, Cameron. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, good. I'm just going to grab control back on the mouse as well. That way, if you click anything, you don't move the slides. Okay, so the agenda today, we're going to do a quick poll of the audience, and I'll get into that, right? That's the first thing we're going to do. Then we will talk about PeopleSoft and Kibana and how these two technologies are working together and how that's evolved over time. Then I'll go into a demo, and that demo will involve showing some slides up front with a little bit of the configuration, and then I'll actually log into the system and do some of the activities live. Then we'll close out with a summary, and we'll just recap everything so that you understand, where we've come from with Kibana and PeopleSoft and 857, and then where we're going in the future. Then we'll open the floor up for Q&A, and then I'll pass the controls back over to Cameron, and he'll just touch a little bit more on our virtual training and upcoming free webinars that we also have. Oh, what the heck? So we're going to poll the audience. And the first thing we're going to do is I want to learn a little bit about, where you are in your PeopleTools journey. So I'm going to send this poll out to everyone. If you can answer the question, I'll give you a second. Is everybody getting the polls? Yep, I see the results coming in now. So we had about 60% respondees on that. It looks like most of you on the call are on PeopleTools 857, about 20% on 858, and 20% on 856, and then a small portion below that. So that's good. We're close to 858.
Here, if we can go ahead and close the poll, I think people can probably see the results here. So do you want to go ahead?
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, there's the next. There we go. There's the results there. So.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That's pretty encouraging to see so many people on 858.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the next question is in the poll is, what interests you most about Kibana? So, is this for system administration, the health center dashboard that Oracle delivered in 857 and has continued to enhance in 858, or is it the application data that's available in 858, or is it both, B and C, or you're really new to Kibana and you just want to learn a little bit more? So mostly B and C with a little bit of D. So I think those that are interested in the health center are also interested in the application data, and that's just probably natural because we have, you know, functional users and technical users on this call. You guys seeing those results now?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I just hit share. Oh,
okay.
You want me to, yeah, I'll go ahead and hit share there.
Okay. All right, then the third question that I wanted to ask is, what are your biggest challenges with reporting and analytics? So is it performance, it's slow, not efficient? Is it lack of data? You just have trouble getting to information that you need? Or is it C, that it's really blah, no dashboards, lots of data dumps in Excel? Or D, you love your current reporting situation, you have no challenges? So, all right, Cameron, you want to share those results? All right, it looks like there's 2% of the population here that I really want to talk to. What are you doing that makes everything so great? No, this is really good. So all of these items, whether it's performance, lack of data, blah reporting, they all can be addressed through Kibana in PeopleSoft. So we'll learn more about that in the upcoming slides. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about PeopleSoft and Kibana. In this section, you will learn about Kibana, how it fits into the PeopleSoft landscape, and why there is such a buzz associated with it. The Elastic company is the parent company that owns the Kibana product. Elastic is a Netherlands-based software firm that provides a suite of products via an open source platform. The three core products, commonly referred to as the ELK stack, are Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. Elasticsearch is an indexing tool for data. This is the technology that PeopleSoft Search Framework is built upon. Logstash is used to aggregate and process data. This tool ingests data simultaneously from multiple sources like log files and chat messages, then enriches and transforms that data into indexed Elastic searches. Kibana is the visualization tool that sits on top of the Elasticsearch indexes. This tool allows users to create dashboards and represent the data through charts, tiles, and geospatial visualizations. You may also hear the term the Elastic Stack, and there are a couple other products that the Elastic company has, but ELK or Elastic Stack, you'll hear both of those terms from when you're referring to all three of these products.
Hey, Gary.
Sure.
One other distinguishing characteristic is that these three products, as you said, sometimes called ELK or ELK, are the core of the Elastic product line, and they're also the open source products from Elastic. So Elastic has a number of commercial products that they offer, but these are the core products around which everything else is built, especially Elasticsearch.
Yes. Yeah, and I would imagine everybody on the call is familiar with Elasticsearch, and they're running the searches within PeopleSoft framework. Thank you for that, Matthew. All right, so this slide here, what I really wanted to point out is Kibana is the lens into PeopleSoft. And as you have your Elasticsearch indexes built in PeopleSoft, that data is provided into Kibana. You create search index patterns, and that allows you to visually create that. I like this slide on the right, and this isn't PeopleSoft data. This is actually taken from the Kibana website, but I thought it's a really good representation of the various types of visualizations that Kibana provides. And you can create similar things with these types of visualizations using PeopleSoft data. And we'll be showing some of these in upcoming slides. So the evolution of the Elastic Stack with PeopleSoft. Beginning with 8.5.5, Elasticsearch was introduced into the PeopleSoft stack for searching. In 8.5.7, PeopleSoft delivered Kibana Visualizations that allowed system administrators to get performance metrics on their data. In 8.5.8, Kibana Visualizations were enhanced further by allowing PeopleSoft data to be included, not just this health center system administrator information. So that was really, in my opinion, that's the game changer with Kibana and the Elastic company and PeopleSoft. It's the ability to view PeopleSoft data within this Kibana visualization tool, which includes applying security rules that have been defined for your data in PeopleSoft. And then in upcoming releases, Oracle has announced that they will be enhancing the content that's available. So currently, they give you the capability to create your own custom dashboards and visualizations. In future POMs, they will actually be delivering some content. So there will be dashboards and other additional search indexes that you will be able to create visualizations and dashboards upon. And Matthew's going to talk about that a little bit further as we move down the slide.
Yeah, one other thing, Gary, I'm not positive about this, but people can check, the PS info. I think one of the HCM images, maybe image 34, has just been released, and I think that has some Kibana dashboards in it. I'm not positive about that, so I would encourage people to keep an eye on PeopleSoft info and the image updates that we publish there, and then that will describe all the ones that are all the delivered analytics.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I haven't seen that myself, so I'm gonna have to get out there and look at that this weekend. All right, well, you guys have heard from Matthew a little bit. Now I'm gonna go through asking Matt a few questions and just let him speak in detail to some things that I think a lot of customers have asked. So earlier this week, I sent some questions out to folks who had registered as of last week, and I got some feedback, and I thought, hey, what better way to give these answers than to, involve Matthew and include those in my presentation. So as you can see from the number of attendees today, Kibana is something that customers are very interested in. On recent calls and presentations that I've attended with Oracle leadership, they've spent a lot of time talking about analytics. So Matthew, tell us a little bit about the investment that Oracle's making in analytics and how customers can benefit from these initiatives.
Yeah, so PeopleSoft continues to support a lot of the different types of analytics that you're all familiar with, notably pivot grids and simplified analytics, the personalized analytic notifications and stuff. You've seen all of that probably if you've been to any of our presentations at conferences and webinars and things like that. Kibana is relatively new, particularly in the analytics side of things, and so this was something, as Gary said, we could talk a little bit more about this, but we introduced it with 8.5.7 strictly for PS admins, and the reason for that was we had not been able at that time to implement security for it. So application data, of course, has to be secured, and with 8.5.8 we were able to do that. Now the security is based on your Elastic Index security, but in terms of investments, I would say Kibana is really taking the lead. So there's a couple of benefits there. One, the tool itself is really rich, it's really powerful, it performs fantastically. But the nice thing about it is there are things that we do on our side, the PeopleSoft side, in terms of the search framework and things like that. But Elastic itself, the company, is constantly enhancing Kibana. It's really a cornerstone tool for them. So customers, I think, will get the benefit of enhancements that both Oracle PeopleSoft and Elastic do in this space, in the Kibana area, in the analytic area. So that's one of the reasons why we think it's really exciting and will benefit customers greatly. And of course, the other thing is, since it's open source, it's no license cost to you, and very little in terms of implementation effort. So there's a lot of power, a lot of benefit with very low cost.
All right, thank you, Matthew. So speaking of pivot grids and Kibana, I'd like to dig a little bit deeper into the two of those. And when should you use a pivot grid, and when do you want to use Kibana?
Yeah, so so those of you who have attended some of our webinars in the past, either me or even Paco or Rebecca, some of the other folks from PeopleSoft might know this, but there is some overlap. You'll see graphical representations in pivot grids. That's one of their fortes and things. And it's not a hard line between the two. Both of them offer security. Both of them work with, within PeopleTools and PeopleSoft applications. They both can appear on dashboards and in related content. The distinguishing features, at least in my opinion, the most important parts for Kibana is performance. So the performance of Kibana is very fast, both in terms of rendering the data and also its impact on transactions. So Kibana works against the Elastic indexes, not against the PeopleSoft transactional database. So the performance is great both in the analytic itself and no impact on transactions. That's the biggest thing. So if you have large data volumes, for example, and performance is an important consideration, then Kibana is definitely where you want to go. They offer a lot of visualizations, and you can also do trending across time, which is difficult with pivot grids. Now, on the pivot grid side, if it's important to have real-time, up-to-the-minute data that's in your database, then pivot grids is a good choice. As I said, Kibana's working against the index, so it's, at least in 858, it's showing you the data that the last time the index was updated. It's contextual. Pivot grids are contextual to transactions, so that can be really important in decision support. You can use simplified analytics, so the end user can really control a lot of things. And then the other thing is personalized analytic notifications, which can be used in pivot grids and simplified analytics. And this is where you can implement business rules and have the user notified when some important condition exists in your enterprise that needs their attention and action. So those are the biggest differences.
All right, thank you. Just a little plug here. Back to our training. We are offering training on both of these topics, Kibana and pivot grids. So check those out if you're interested. All right, let's shift gears and talk a little bit about the capabilities and content in Kibana. So I'm thinking about this from both an 857 and 858 perspective. Oracle has continued to enhance the capabilities in 858, but many of our customers are on 857. If an upgrade is 6 to 12 months away, how can they leverage Kibana today? And for those customers on 858 or soon to be on 858, what type of content is Oracle planning? So do you want to talk a little bit about 857 and what customers can do today?
Sure. So as I mentioned, right now, the only thing you can do in 857 are that we deliver 3 dashboards in Kibana. This is Kibana opening in a browser. In 858, which I think, Gary, you're going to show a little bit later, we've actually incorporated Kibana into the PeopleSoft UI. So it's in a PeopleSoft frame, with the headers and navigation, everything that you expect within a PeopleSoft, within the fluid navigation shell. With 858, so you can do the you can do application analytics. You don't have to wait for an image. You can, if you have 858, you can start creating your own analytics. It's quite easy, and Gary will show you a little bit about that. If you prefer, you can wait. We're going to be delivering, as I said, there may actually be some out there already now that were recently released. I'm not positive about that, but there's going to be several analytics dashboards and visualizations delivered by our application teams. Here we go. And so you can look for that, but you can also create your own, and it's not a difficult proposition. Yeah, and so again, look at what we're publishing on PeopleSoftInfo.com, and you'll see a complete list, and it will change, of course, going forward. And this is for all the.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Matthew. Yeah. A quick note on that: if anyone's looking to jumpstart this process, SpearMC has done several Kibana configurations on both 857 and 858. We can help you get up and running with Kibana in a day or two, and then you can take it from there and create your own visualizations and dashboards.
Yeah.
I think the last thing, and you just touched on this, but where can I get more info about Kibana and the content that is being developed? I mean,
yes.
Obviously, SpearMC is the best place for that, but second will be, Oracle, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's great that Spear is doing this. I mean, we're really happy that you guys are doing this training and things like that. In addition, customers can go to PeopleSoftInfo.com. As I mentioned, that's the page on the left there. There's an analytics tab under the tools and technology section with a Kibana tab that has links to all sorts of things, documentation, videos, everything. And I'd like to let everybody know that I think it was either last night, we just released a new spotlight video on Kibana, and it's quite detailed, setting things up and all that. I think an hour after it was published, it already had 100 views. So you might want to check that out. But there's a lot of information there, and I'd encourage you to look at Spear's content as well.
All right, thanks, Matthew. All right, so back to the agenda. We're going to move on to the demo. I will introduce a few more concepts and then do the live demo of a dashboard that I built. The first thing I wanted to do was talk a little bit about a dashboard screen. In this screen, and it's a little hard to see, this was taken from one of the presentations that Oracle had done at one of the conferences recently. But this is a sample recruiting dashboard. And in the upper left is a pie chart, and it breaks down applicants by source. This map here visually displays applicants by state. Then we have a tag cloud that shows competencies that are visually represented with their relevance being the size and the color of each word. Then at the bottom, this is showing a external versus internal applicants, and the data is compared across 7 years. This is something that you're not doing very easily in any of the, if you're doing it all in any of the existing, reporting tools that are currently available. In the demo, I'm going to walk through how to create some of these visualizations and apply them to the dashboard. My demo will be on AP data, not on HR, but literally it can be, the point is the visualizations that are available. And, if you think applicants by source versus, source of your payment method, right? So the exact same thing, this pie chart, whether it's applicants by source in AP, this will be broken down by payment method. But it's about, exposing you to the type of visualization at this point. So accessing Kibana, I mean, the big thing with the application data is that we need to be on 858. So as we saw in the poll, a lot of people are on 857 or 856. So those that are on 857, they'll be able to utilize the system metrics and performance data that was delivered with Kibana there. Hopefully 858 is on your roadmap. We recommend that you do selective PUM updates within a given year, and then you do a get current, for every 12 to 18 months max. And we're actually starting this process at one of our managed services clients in the next month or so. And I'm happy to say Kibana was one of the deciding factors in getting that project approved. A quick note here about logging in that I have up here is to get to Kibana, you can go directly to the Kibana URL, but most of the time you're just going to enter through PeopleSoft. And as Matthew mentioned earlier, with 858, Kibana is embedded directly into the PeopleTools and PeopleSoft front end. So there will be a link directly in PeopleSoft, and I'll show that. Once we're in Kibana, we will need to import the data based on the existing search indexes, and that's all this slide is showing. I'm not going to go into too much detail. I just wanted to make sure these slides would really be available for you to reference when you once we send these out. We're going to create visualizations. So we create visualizations, and then we will apply them to dashboards. Then in PeopleTools, there's some configuration that needs to happen to get the Kibana dashboards into PeopleTools. And I list out, where you actually go to do that. In our presentation, we're not going to go and click each one of those. I mean, it's really a lot of, hey, add this, save, add this, save. Nothing really fancy to see, and then we'll add it to a dashboard at the end. So the Kibana dashboard that we're going to build looks very similar to this. The one on the left, which is we're going to use as a tile in PeopleSoft, is a single visualization. When we're in PeopleSoft, when we click on this visualization, it will then open the full dashboard, and that will all be within PeopleSoft. So I hope you guys are ready to see this. Let's move on to the demo. It's always that nervous moment. Does the app server up? All right, so to get to Kibana, what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to the Kibana Health Center dashboard, which is under PeopleTools. And this is the delivered dashboard that we talked about for system administration. I'm going to click on Health Center, and it's going to open here. So if you look at the top, we're still in PeopleSoft, but we're looking at a Kibana dashboard. My focus today isn't on the Health Center dashboard. What I really want to focus on is Kibana and creating a new dashboard and then bringing it back into PeopleSoft. So, but from there, I just clicked the link and I've moved over. Now I'm in the Kibana kind of interface. So the Kibana home, this is a lot of these are all the links that are available and options to that you have. Most of the time, you'll spend a lot of time in Dashboard, Discover, Visualize, and then Index Patterns. And these are also available over on the left side as well. And that's a default. I didn't configure that based on this. This is the default navigation. So first thing I want to do is make sure that we have data available. If you recall earlier, I showed this slide. This is where we create an index pattern. And to create an index pattern, you're going to click Create Index Pattern, and then you will see a list of the search indexes that are defined in PeopleSoft and have been deployed. So as part of the configuration and setup, we've made that communication between PeopleSoft, the Elasticsearch server, and the Kibana server. So it's able to pull this information in. And if I want to add a new data source, I would just click. So if I, click that, or actually I don't click, I copy and paste, I forgot. Right, and I'm going to add that data source. I'm not going to select the time filter right now. But it's this simple to bring your data in. So now this is what will be available. And you see I have a fourth one up here. Simple as that, we now have data available. Over here, what I'm navigating through here is what's called the Discover page. And this is a way to quickly visualize your data, similar to a query, but it's all right here. So I'm focusing today on the AP payments, so I'll click that, and this is the full data set. Now down here on the left, I can click on these and get some of the biggest hits. This being a demo data set, we have a lot of dashes, but we do have a few addresses here as well. And if you add this to here, it will actually, start focusing in. So if you only wanted to add the address and maybe something else. You're just a state that goes with that, right? You see that as well. But if you ever want to do some quick ad hoc analysis and you're in Kibana, this is an easy way to create and look at data that way. The next thing that I want to focus on is the dashboards. So I've built, it defaults to your most recent one. I built this dashboard for this presentation, and it looks very similar to what I showed earlier with the recruiting dashboard, but this is AP data. So, we've got a couple of metrics right here, a pie grid, a tag cloud, and then a map. And what I'm going to show now is these things are so easy to build. Now, there's additional configuration to, clean this up, to put, a more relevant title and all of those things. But the simplicity of getting it here, you'll see you're not spending hours and days putting these type of things together. So I will just create a new, and I'll use the first one I'm going to do is the metric. So I'm going to click the plus. Sorry, I jumped there real quick. On here, we had the Discoverer, we were on Dashboards, and now we're on Visualization. So I clicked on Visualize, and then the plus sign, and the metric, and I'm going to select the AP payments. Boom, I mean, it by default is giving me a metric based on those 319. So I simply would save this off, and I have that. Now I also want to create a metric that was based on the sum of the total, right? So I'm going to do the total, but now it's asking me, hey, there are multiple fields that I could total here. What do I want to total? I want to total the payment amount. So I'm going to select the payment amount. I'm not even going to add a label here. This little apply changes, that's how this will get updated. Once again, I would save that. Back to creating the tag cloud, right? That tag cloud that I showed, another simple example. We would click on payments again. Once again, we're counting, and what do we want to count? We're just going to count, we select terms. That's how you define how you want to split up your data set. In here, I want to do, I was just selecting Opera. This may not fully make, I guess it does. I mean, if you want to see which users created, which transaction. So Opera ID entered by Oracle, and I'm going to select the non-indexed version. And then how many of these do I want to see? I don't know. We'll just say maybe 20 users. And I click that. So that's how you quickly create that tag cloud that I showed. Once again, I would save that. And even the map is pretty simple to, this map, I mean, that's pretty simple to create. You're going to add the region map. Yeah, payments. From here, we got count, options. So I want to break our map down in the United States by state. So I'm going to select that, and then I will do the FIPS Alpha 2 state standard. Since this is a junk data set, I'm going to uncheck that, but I go back to here. I'm going to add a bucket, and then terms, and then once again, select the field. And this is going to be, fingers are off on the keyboard. Yeah, and then since we have 50 states, I will click 50, and when I refresh this, we see our data now shows up in the US. Maybe you want to zoom in on the US, and then once again, we would save that. So at that point, we have, multiple visualizations available to us. Now I want to, back to the dashboard, I created a new dashboard. To add these to a dashboard, I'm going to, since I called all the ones that I already saved demo, I will add the map, add the amount, the count, the tag, and the pie chart. Good, now they're in here. Now I can resize these however I want and continue to add. I can modify titles here as well, and I can even get directly back into editing these. So I would save this, okay? Very simple, quick, I mean, very powerful. So, I encourage, everyone to, get to 857. You can do some of these things with the system data, or, even better, get to 858 and really start leveraging the power of this tool. So now that I have these dashboards created, I'm going to add these two dashboards into PeopleSoft. So let me switch back over to, oops, I have to get out of full screen. Switch back over to here, go back to my PeopleSoft tab. And I've created a home page for Kibana. So what I would do now in this case is I would need to go through those steps that were on the slide. I'd want to import the data. I'd then want to configure the visualizations, deploy the dashboard and the Kibana privileges. Just a bunch of clicking, but I have all those saved here, so I can easily do that when I add content. The next thing that I want to do is add
Gary? So
yes.
just to be clear, so this is a custom home page that you created to facilitate
yes.
this and put these
yes.
Kibana processes on that home page.
Yeah, so I will flip back here real quick. Basically, I took these links that were here and put them on that page for quick reference for me.
Right.
You're right, Matthew. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to reemphasize that a little bit.
Okay. So now that I have those here, I want to add what we just did into PeopleSoft. So at that point, I'm going to add a tile, and tile that I'm going to add was this demo AP tile. And I've added this directly into this Kibana page. Technically, it would make more sense to add it into that payables page, but just so we have it right here, I'm going to save that. Now, we see that embedded single tile view right here in PeopleSoft. So with it being on the Kibana tab, it doesn't make as much sense, but if I should have added it here on this payables tab. Anyway, here nor there at this point. So when I click on this tile, it's going to open that other dashboard that we created. And from here, we have the full capabilities of the Kibana dashboard. So if I want to see just the transactions that made up California, I'm going to click California. And as you noticed, everything else updated. We went from 319, the total amount dropped. All of these are interactive together, even the tag, right? If I want to look at everything that was created by A. Jordan, I click that, we see two. They were both in California. One was a system check, one was a manual check. Very cool, very great way to view information quickly, and you can build these things once you're set up, within a couple hours. But the power really lies in what's available in those search indexes. So I think if you are looking to get started but you're not fully there yet, focus on what's available in your search indexes. Start learning that. Learn about Elasticsearch, and then you'll be much more prepared to start building visualizations because you understand the underlying data.
Hey Gary. One other feature you might want to show them is the calendar thing up in the upper right. Where instead of the last 100 years, you can show it over, the last week or the last day, hour, or whatever.
Yes. So in this environment, I just selected, I had it saved as last 100 years. But yeah, you have a lot of different time periods that you would want to look at. And, this goes back to what Matthew touched on earlier, where the data is as real time as what's in your search, was the last time your indexes have been refreshed. So, if you get your indexes on a, daily, hourly, I'm not sure how fast people are refreshing their indexes, but however fast that's how quickly you can look at these type of metrics. All right. So that's the end of the demo here. We can do a quick summary and then move over to Q&A. We got about 15 minutes left. So to summarize what we talked about, in PeopleTools 857, performance metrics were available with this Health Center dashboard. In 858, that's where application data started becoming available, security is applied to the data, and the integration really that is between PeopleSoft and Kibana. And as you saw, we were able to add those dashboards directly into PeopleSoft so users could access the dashboards via tile or by a full dashboard. Currently, there are about 118 search indexes available. Those are designed for PeopleSoft search framework, and those are all customizable and extendable. So, you don't want to modify the delivered one, but you could save a copy of that if you need to bring in additional data elements that aren't in those existing search indexes. And that brings up one other point, you should consider is when you're building, doing other customizations, make sure that you think about search indexes and how to incorporate that into your design so that if you want to use Kibana to report on anything custom, you have it available. I just wanted to flash this slide one more time. These are, what Matthew talked about, the content that Oracle, has talked about releasing in 8.5.8 and these upcoming PUMs. So you're not limited to what we have today. There's a lot of great content that, not only you can build, but also you have the power of Oracle's development team working on creating additional content for you.
Yeah, and people can also take these and clone them and modify them and things like that too. So they have lots of options, both with delivered content and with custom content.
Great. So now we're at Q&A. Cameron, has anyone sent any questions in?
We do. We've got a bunch of questions, actually, so I'm glad we left a bit of time because I think there's some really good questions. So I'll be asking the questions, and then we'll kind of turn it over to the two of you to answer. So the first question, I'm actually going to throw out a question. So we see this big roadmap of getting to 8.5.8, and we see all of the cool content that's going to come delivered in terms of dashboards. What should some customers be doing right now to prepare themselves for that future state roadmap?
Gary, is that for you or me?
It can really be for either.
Yeah.
What's that?
I think we could tag team that. So you're talking about customers that are on 8.5.6 or 8.5.7. So that you want to start looking at, what do I need to get to 8.5.8? So you have a planning process from the, your PeopleTools upgrade and that part of it. But from a training perspective, I mentioned, become familiar with Elasticsearch, and because that's the content. Spend time even learning all the content that is available in those Elasticsearches, because those are the data elements that are going to be delivered and available to you. Additionally, if you're on 8.5.7, get the help center installed, and you have a playground there where you can, create visualizations and learn the visualization side of it. And then, there's a lot of different videos out there. We've posted some on YouTube. We have them linked from our website. You've got the content that Matthew talked about as well. So, I'd say just, stay on top of it and be ready, because there's a lot that you'll be able to do. Anything you want to add there, Matthew?
Yeah, I think, 8.5.8 is really the landmark release for Kibana. I'd encourage people, whether it's on the cloud, whether it's, PeopleSoft deployed on the cloud or on-prem, getting to 8.5.8 will allow you to really take advantage of Kibana. The other thing I wanted to mention was, and I have to be a little bit cautious here because, we didn't put up any safe harbor statements or anything, but I mentioned that Kibana is a significant area of investment for us. And so we have planned, and we're working on a lot of enhancements going forward to enable Kibana to be used in even more use cases and to include more features, either from us or from enhancements that are coming in Kibana. So for things like Gary and I both mentioned that the data source is your Elastic indexes, and the data in that index is only as fresh as the last time you updated it. Well, we're working, for example, on ways to incrementally and automatically update the indexes as you perform transactions and things. So the data in your index will always be fresh. That's just something we're kind of working on right now. So you can look for things like that in the future. You can look for enhancements in the UI, enhancements in managing your ELK stack, all those sorts of things. That's just sort of a peek into the future.
Great, thank you, Matthew. So we got a bunch of questions. So I'm gonna ask the questions and ask you guys to kind of respond. Maybe take 30 seconds each, and we'll get through a lot of these questions. So, all right. So big picture question. Is this all designed for the business user? That's a good question.
Well, I think, yeah, let me answer that. So one of the things that may not have been clear in the demo is Gary showed a great illustration of how easy it is to create these things. But I'd say the bulk of your users, especially your end users, will never see any of that. They will be using their analytics for their business decisions, for their KPIs and things like that. And all they will see is a tile on their dashboard or in their related content. They'll click on that. They'll take advantage of the insights that they gain from those analytics. And so most end users will only see that and will only benefit from that. The admin users will benefit from, as Gary pointed out, metrics and things like that, and the ease of the ability to create new visualizations. Now, you'll even have subject matter experts probably that will create, app-based visualizations using the process that Gary described too. So, I mean, it really benefits users across the spectrum of people in your organization.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Gary.
Well, no, I was going to say, there are opportunities to, really come up with a great design. Understand the business case that your management wants to see, or your analysts are looking for, and you create pinpointed tiles and other related content in dashboards so that they get exactly what they need at that point in time in their business process.
Yeah, and one other thing that Gary pointed out at the beginning was, most customers have tons of queries and all kinds of other things. They've got a lot of information in ways that are not as rich, not as easily used by end users and things like that. I think this gives you the opportunity of moving some of that analytic capability into tools that end users can really more easily benefit from and gain insight from.
Great, thanks, Matthew. One question here. Can you compare Kibana, perhaps? So we did a little comparison between Kibana and Pivot Grids. It's a question about Kibana versus Envision. Why don't we expand that to say Kibana versus other reporting and analytical tools from PeopleSoft?
Yeah. So, Gary, do you want to do that, or do you want me to answer that one?
You can go ahead.
Matthew,
like you already had an answer prepared.
So, well, let me address Envisions first. So, Envision is a very targeted, very specific tool, and I mean, let's face it, it's really old. It's been around for a long time. However, it's very powerful. It's hard to use. It's used by very specific roles and things like that. I expect that people will continue to use it, but it relies on Microsoft Excel and all that. Kibana is a much sort of richer visualization tool. You don't get those kind of visualizations you do with Envision. I think Envision will continue to be used for its very targeted uses that it's used now. Kibana use is very broad. It can be used across all sorts of things. And I'd be interested to see going forward, and Gary, you guys at Spear might be working with people on this, whether people actually start moving some of their Envision analytics into Kibana. I can't really predict that, but I'd be interested to see if customers start doing that.
Yeah, I did the Envision webinar last week, and we'll be doing the training next month. I agree with you. It is more targeted. It's more specific to generally people on the accounting finance area.
Yeah.
I don't see people doing quote unquote analytics with Envision. It's really more looking at being able to look at your financials, drilling down. Of course, it can go way beyond that. But if people are trying to do analytics with Envision, I would certainly be trying to push them over towards some of the pivot grids and Kibana's type solutions.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
And actually, that question drives me. I was just going to say, this type of question, and we'll capture all these questions that you've had. Some of these things we can incorporate into our agenda for training, as we're continuing to refine that as we move towards that training class. So, I think a small section of that training can be dedicated to the, reporting landscape within PeopleSoft, and, where do you go for each of these, and what opportunities do you have to simplify, information for users.
All right, we're gonna do lightning round. We got a few technical questions, and if we feel like it's too technical, we'll just we'll have to take it offline. But let's go through a couple technical questions, and let's see if we can get some quick answers here. So first, how is a search index copied or modified?
So I don't know, Gary, do you want to take that? I mean, I can cover it briefly, but.
I mean, so within PeopleSoft, where you create your search indexes, you deploy them, you can create new search indexes. So you'll save it, you'll redeploy it, and make it available within Kibana.
Yeah, so the search index is, as Gary pointed out, the source for your analytic data in Kibana. Now, the indexing process is covered, in all the documentation and all the material we have on Elasticsearch. So for example, we deliver tons of Elastic indexes with our applications. If you have custom data, or you have some data that you want just for analysis purposes, not for searching, you can simply update the indexes under the normal process that you would use, using the PeopleSoft search framework to augment or update that index and include whatever custom data or custom analytic data you want in that index, and then that will be, analyzable by accessed by Kibana.
Great. Okay, just maybe two more, and then we're going to have to end the session. We'll get to all the questions offline if we don't get them here. How do migrations happen? So can you migrate from a test or non-prod environment into prod? How does that work?
Yes, Gary, have you guys covered that? You covered that in your training?
We'll be getting to that in our training, yes. But the objects can be exported within Kibana and then re-imported into another Kibana environment and deployed in PeopleSoft.
I think they might be talking there too about ADS and stuff. So, if you're moving from dev to test to prod and stuff, I'm not sure if that's what they're getting at, but all that is migratable just like other managed data within PeopleSoft. And the details of that are in the documentation and also in, I think it's even covered in that spotlight, but I'm not positive about that. I have to go back and take a look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, and ADS is actually one of those topics that's somewhat new, and we're looking at doing potentially some training and webinars on ADS as part of the overall configuration specialist type of role. So we're going to be looking at that. If you guys want more information on that, certainly ping us, and we'll see if we can get some content together on that one. All right, one last question. Exporting. Can we export data out of let's say a graph tile?
You mean to like Excel or some other third-party thing?
Yeah, let's take that. Not my question, but I think that's probably what they're talking about.
Yeah. So right now, there's not an automated export to Excel or anything like that. There are ways, and I'm not real familiar about this. Gary, you might know. Of exporting data from the indexes themselves and things.
Well,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, no, I was just going to say, the folks that are power users and that have access to Kibana, you can export, when you're in Kibana. So, that may be one of those times where you need to figure out, hey, we can't do this directly from PeopleSoft, but, is there a way to allow folks to click that open in Kibana link and then export this data?
Yeah, that's a good point. They may have been referring to that, you know, in pivot grids, how you have that export to Excel link right in the, you know, right in the tile and stuff. That's not in Kibana, but you can do it, as Gary mentioned.
Yeah, it's sort of a workaround, not just, you know, right there and embedded.
Fantastic. All right. Lots of some detailed technical questions. I think we're going to have to take those offline because we're at the time. So, Gary, if you want to pass control, we'll just kind of finish up here.
Yep.
Thanks everybody for joining. I know we didn't get to all your questions. We will be getting to those offline. And Ravinder, I see your question. We'll get to you. Okay, so we'll get to your question offline. All right, Gary, if you want to pass control, we'll just finish up here so we can end on time. All right. Okay, so if we just end here, I know we just touched on a lot of these topics. So we do have some training. We'll talk about that. We do have upcoming webinars. So I know this is all about Kibana today. Next week, 2 weeks from today, we'll be doing unified navigation and chatbots to continue our tech series. And then that kind of got cut off there, but we'll be taking a look at how to create a strategic roadmap for your applications on the 12th of June. And so go ahead and take a look at that link in this deck, and you can sign up for any of those webinars. We also, all of the webinars, including this one today, are going to be on our recorded webinar channel, and you'll be able to see the 3 that we've done, or actually 4 we've done so far. So talking about stay current, best practices, PTF, how to decustomize your system, and then the 4th one was Envision that we have out there. And after today, we'll have a 5th one here that'll be recorded. So really, we look at the training, we look at the query and Envision training. We kind of group those together. This will be the timeline of that. So we've got Envision and then query 101, 201, and then 301 pivot grids. We then have a series on decustomization. You can see the topics we've got here with Page and Field Configurator, kind of setting up the home pages and dashboards, activity guides, and forms of approval builder. And then lastly, we've got kind of a hodgepodge here, PTF and lease administration, along with the Kibana 101 and then the PUM 101 Kibana Elasticsearch. So kind of different audiences intended for these. You can get all that detail on that link there. Look at the agendas, the abstracts, the intended audience, and then go ahead and sign up right there on that page. It'll take you over to our sign up page. Certainly, if you are interested in multiple of these sessions, come talk to us. We certainly have additional discounts that we can give you if you want to take any of these sessions and make them private for your organization. We're certainly able to do that as well, and we can give it to you in a more of a discounted fashion as well. So we're open to all that, so just let us know. All right, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Gary and Matthew, for taking us through a deep dive on Kibana. And we will end the session now, and let us know if you have any questions. Our contact information is there, and you will be getting this presentation, this deck, through email, as well as a link to the recorded session. With that, we will go ahead and stop the presentation.
You guys still there?
Yeah, we've not stopped yet, so I'm gonna shut down the presentation.
Okay.